Hello friends and welcome back for another episode of Indie Impressions. My name is Nick and today we're going to be checking out the alpha version of a game called Roll the Ball 3D. It is a very simple physics-driven marble game and it's a type of game that I'm actually quite fond of. As you may have noticed, I've done a bunch of episodes in the past about games that are essentially about guiding a marble through a series of impediments and obstacles. This will be very much the same, and it's an early version of the game, so it's still probably going to have quite a bit of it change. We should look very quickly. Just choose level. It says we've got 4 levels to choose from, and it looks like we've got another additional 6 or so coming at some point. And then for controls, pretty simplistic stuff. We've got arrow keys or WASD, and left click and rotate on our mouse, which is basically going to be our moving the camera around in various directions. It's a Unity game, so I pretty much have an idea how this is going to go, but, you know, I wanted to have a look at it. I am always fond of this type of game, and I've pretty much rarely run into one that was just not enjoyable to me at all, so I figured this would be a fairly good thing to give a shot to. So let's try it. Here we are. It's already first scene that I'm seeing is reminding me a little bit of Rock of Ages, the way we start out. This is like a big old granite planet. It kind of looks like a, Mercury or something. We're just going to roll that around on a pretty lovely looking little surface here. Oh, and I just want to get a feel for the physics before we got into things. That did not quite work out. The ball seems to have rolled into the water, and when that happens, we have to retry the level. So it's important when you're first starting to get a feeling for like how the momentum works, how the physics feel, all of that business. And it's not too weird. It's kind of what I expected. The ball has a heavy feeling to it, and it's got quite a bit of momentum when you go around turns. So you got to be a little bit careful with pushing things in the direction, rotating the camera in such a direction as to give you the proper swing that you need to be able to follow these curves. So it's a pretty simple concept in that basically what we're looking at here is a terrain mesh that's got big chunks of it raised up, and then we've got this fencing and a little light that gives us that, and then a pretty nice little UI bit. Sort of reminds me of like a Renaissance thing, but there's also sort of like a little bit of a sci-fi twinge to the top, and then for some reason the little smiley face there too. I don't know. It's its own kind of thing with the wax seal and all that. And wow, this is quite a sweeping landscape, isn't it? Well, it doesn't have a lot of shading going on in the background, but again, it's alpha, so no biggie. Looks like this is just a dead end, maybe? Oh no, this actually goes down a big old path. And then we've got another path that we can go off in this direction. This is striking me. Oh, this is the end, actually. I guess this just connects from the last. Yeah, alright. This is sort of giving us this appearance of like a sort of a faux connectivity to the world, perhaps. And this is then the continuation of our adventure. Not sure why we can't really get to that single coin there. Or what even the point of the coins is. They may just be sort of generic pickups to make sure that we follow a certain path. Or maybe in the final version there would actually be more to it than that. It's also sort of strange to look down and then see blue at pretty much all times when you'd kind of expect to see like more of like a grassland thing. But I understand as a means to give the player the impression of something being out of bounds, you kind of have to introduce an element like water or something that sort of just fits the role of like floor is lava, floor is water, floor is something you shouldn't touch. And that's fine. One of the things that I've come to see a lot of the times in these marble sorts of games, they tend to have some customization options, and maybe the marble can have different cosmetic features to it, and maybe that's a thing that you might end up using the coins to unlock. They sort of could stand as a sort of currency that you could then spend after you're done playing, and that's usually a fun little way to approach things, and usually it's more of a time trial thing that you want to balance how fast you can get through these traversal mechanics versus leaderboard scores or something like that. And then of course the currency comes into play in that. Well, if you go really fast, you might miss some of the out of the way locations. I'm kind of enjoying that we're going like up and around in all different ways through this landscape, and it's sort of also reminding me, and this is a bit of a stretch, I understand, but it's sort of reminding me of what if we were to make a marble maze game out of the world and ambience of Dark Souls, and how weird and cool would that be? Certainly seems like it would be rather unconventional, right? But then again, I don't know, I'm thinking of like Metroid Prime Pinball, which was actually pretty fun, and it sort of made a concept like, Samus rolling up into a morphing ball, as kind of cliche and silly as it was, it also kind of made sense to make a pinball game out of it. So, maybe the Dark Souls landscape could be mined for some sort of greater good in a marble adventure. Who knows? I'm thinking of Ash Lake specifically in that windy, deserty region that you could then take a marble through. Oh, this is actually kind of tricky. But thankfully, the ball weight seems to be on our side in that when you're starting to roll down a hill, a lot of times you can actually recover. This one I might not be able to recover from. Yeah, all right. I think it's a little too late for us, unfortunately. But I am a big fan of it. I'm thinking back to one of my first ones that really I got into was Marble Madness on the NES, and of course it started out as an arcade game, but I just loved that game for some reason. It was so strange, and it had such crazy discordant music on that one level. There's all these little weird monsters running around. Well, maybe not monsters the right word, but there's those like slinkies that would eat the ball, and there's like acid pools and various like birds that would shoot out of things, and I think there were little vacuums that would suck you up. I feel like there was a boot, but I think I'm actually thinking of Snake Rattle and Roll when that happens. That's not a marble maze game by any means, but it also had a little bit of a that same sort of essence of like very obscure locations and such. And then I'm thinking, fast forward a little bit, Marble Blast Ultra, Super Monkey Ball, both games that I absolutely enjoyed quite a bit. And I was really sad to see that there wasn't really any more in the way of Marble Blast Ultra being a thing. I prefer the straight up like roll a marble around, not so much like do crazy acrobatics with it, like give it power ups and shoot lasers and stuff. I'd rather it was just like how fast can you manipulate physics through a series of increasingly complex traps or just strange architecture of one kind or another. This is actually pretty challenging, and yeah, I'm actually having trouble with this. But this sort of feels like sort of the plain, distilled down concept of what I enjoy about those sorts of games. So, despite the fact that maybe it could use a little bit of polish in the visual department, and granted that's totally fine because it's an alpha, I'm actually having a bunch of fun with this. So I would totally want to see where this goes with a full version. And I also love that there's details like having all these extra areas you can't reach. It makes you sort of wonder sometimes when they're well integrated into the landscape, like maybe you could find shortcuts if you find the right way through some of these places. So I always like having that sort of on the back of your mind, especially as we were thinking about, well, that was really kind of poor play there, but as we were thinking about like the Dark Souls idea, like how would it be to have a Dark Souls mechanic mixed in with a marble game? Well, I would imagine you maybe would open up some shortcuts, and then on your second and third, subsequent runs, maybe you'd find a faster path if you were being careful through things. And that could be kind of an emergent bit of gameplay that if you approach that with enough different non-linear ways to go through things, you may end up even creating sort of like an open world scenario, accidentally even. And it doesn't mean that necessarily the levels have to be broken up into levels even, just that there could be checkpoints from one position to another. This sounds like a really silly and bizarre thing, I understand. But my mind does work in mysterious ways when it comes to combining genres, and sometimes, crazy ideas work out for the best. I've seen it happen before. It'll probably happen again. Alright, so we had some success here. We made it through, and I think we've gotten all of the currency on the way on that one. And it looks like, I think we're on our last level now. And where is this going to take us? Oh, what is this? We're going to go over some weird pipes this time. Maybe this is, I probably shouldn't even speculate, but I was thinking perhaps some of these terrain textures and such might be from like a prefab set or something in Unity. I have no idea. I probably shouldn't even guess, like I said. But regardless, they're put to good effect if that is the case, and if that's not the case, then my apologies. But I'm enjoying what's been put here, and I think it works well. Oh, I've wedged myself in between. No, got out. All right, cool. And one last pipe, and I think we're almost there. This is, I'm surprised I haven't gone ahead and tried to make a game like this yet myself, because I have a feeling, with the bit of a penchant for level design that I tend to find that I have, I'm not trying to, like, toot my own horn or anything, but I think if anything, I have some skills at creating level design. I think this would be a lot of fun to mess around with. And also not the hardest thing necessarily, and I'm not trying to put down the author or anything, but like I think that this is a thing that's probably a little bit more accessible to someone without years of design and programming experience when it comes to games. So I could see this being a thing that I could maybe get into doing myself one way or another. And I really like these little dynamic shadow effects and all that, having the foliage all around. It's a pretty pleasant atmosphere. And I've never found so far that the levels have been hard to read or anything. It seems like you're fairly in a self-explanatory bit of level design. You can pretty much find your way through each time. The cylindrical nature of these blocks, though, or these tubes, is a little bit difficult to get over, and they're not even spinning or anything. It's just like tend to get pulled over in one direction or the other. Sort of wondering what's going to happen when I get to the end of this, whether it's going to boot me out to the menu or whether it's going to quit or what. I've seen things quit a lot of times in the past with this type of thing. But that's what's keeping me going. I just want to see what happens when we get to the end. Too bad there's not more levels, but again, this is a good impetus to want to come back and try this again in the future. So we got to go down this. Don't get too much momentum or we'll fly out the other side. And then one more rail. Hopefully I could just keep it steady, hold it together, keep on going forward. Don't throw, don't throw. I think we're going to make it, guys. And we made it. Fantastic. Victory! Alright, so it does take you back to the menu. So pretty simple. It's a little jaunt through. By the way, in case you wonder, the soundtrack, I kept it super, super low because, well, it's a reimagining of music that I don't want to necessarily get into copyright issues with. Anyway, I recommend it. Roll the Ball 3D. Maybe you could use a new name or something, but I enjoyed the game itself. I would definitely come back to this and see where it goes as it approaches beta or beyond. So that would be a thumbs up for me. So go ahead and check it out. Links in the description if you'd like to try it out yourself. I played it right in browser. You don't even have to download a file or anything like that. You can have a good time and see the development of this game. I always like to cover things early on and then maybe revisit them later when they're more done. I think it makes for kind of an entertaining little progression. And it also kind of rewards people that stick with the series for a long time, which is something that I hope you guys would consider doing. So if you enjoyed today's episode, feel free to let me know. I'd like to hear your opinions in the comments, of course, as I always do. Any discussion about, like, how weird is that idea I had about a Dark Souls marble game, or, just in general, what would be a good improvement for a game like this? Feel free to speculate and let your opinions run wild, as long as we're being nice, of course. We always like to be cordial and courteous when it comes to our comment section, but, I'm very gifted in having a community that is generally very understanding and nice. So that's one of my favorite things about doing these videos. You guys are cool people. Anyway, right, links in the description. Social media stuff's in the description. If you want to find out more about me, you can check out my Twitter in there. You can check out my Twitch page for streaming. You can check out indie-impressions.com for more videos in the series. We are well over 700 episodes in the series now. We're very, very close to the 2-year mark. That's 2 years of consecutive Indie Impressions videos. So if you enjoy what you see here, consider leaving a like for some support on the series, or just even leave a comment, or just, let me know you exist. That always makes me feel happy. And of course, if you're into the concept of finding out about a new indie game every single day, consider subscribing as well, because it helps me out a whole bunch. But, that is up to you if you think that is something you might be interested in. And I will be back again tomorrow. New episodes go up every single day. So I hope to see you back for another one tomorrow. And I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you have a fantastic night. Talk to you later.